creating ease in your business. And I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while because I think it's something that I have been tapping into more and more ease and more flow, and really decluttering, really taking all of the pieces out that are no longer serving my business. Specifically today, we are going to be talking about how to double your income without working harder, without burning out, without having a ton of struggle and exhaustion in the process. Because the struggle is real, you guys, especially as we are in entrepreneurial roles. And many of you have, left corporate settings, you've left sort of, the jobs and have gone on to do your own endeavors. And that brings up its own challenges, right? There's a mindset game that goes along with that. And then there's also some really specific things that I'm going to talk about today with you that are the things that can really help you get out of struggle, get out of overworking, get out of feeling like you have to be in constant burnout mode, that you have to be constantly doing and producing in order to generate money, to increase your income, to bring in more flow into your experience. So today is all about how can we increase or even double our income without working harder, without burning out. First piece and the first tip that I want to give you is that there is a mindset game to earning more. There is definitely a mindset game to earning more. And we often buy into the mindset trap that what you earn is equal to the number of hours that you work. And right, a lot of us think that it's sort of this 1-to-1 ratio. And I remember one point in my career, I was, working in a corporate job and I was earning a very high salary. But I saw one of my friends peel off from that and decide to go more of an entrepreneurial route. And she decided that she could work part-time and earn the same amount of money. I remember thinking, like, how does that work, right? Like, how is she going to earn, X amount of money, but work half the amount of time? Like, that doesn't equate, because I was still stuck in this 1-to-1 ratio of thinking that, it had to be like $1 earned was an hour served, right? And it was a real mindset shift for me to see her go through the process of actually having success with that and achieving that goal. And so I started to give myself a mantra at that point that I could work half the time and earn double. And I want to give you that because there is much evidence to the contrary, right, of this 1-to-1 ratio that really helps us see that, it's not just like a 1-to-1, right? There's lots of people who are out there making money, and they're making money in lots of different ways, right? So example would be ways to leverage your time, right? So there are things that you can be doing, right? You can be, producing an ebook, and somebody in, Australia could be buying it while you sleep, right? And so that's not necessarily time worked, but it's money that's earned. You could be in an industry where you have lots of products, right? And your products could be, your customers could be logging onto their website and buying your products while you're sleeping, right? And so it's not necessarily about how many hours you put in, but it's, in order to produce that revenue. So I want to give you that because it really is a mindset game in terms of earning more. And one of the things that we have to do inside of that mindset game is actually give ourselves permission to earn more, because you have to give yourself permission. You have to give yourself permission to allow it to be easier. You have to give yourself permission to allow money to flow to you, even in passive ways, right? I had a client at one point who when she started working with me, she was making a few $100s in her side business in a direct selling industry. And her products were primarily non-toxic beauty products. And through working with me, she actually built a very large team and rose up to be in the top 1% of her company. And at one point, we had a very honest conversation on a one-on-one coaching call where she said, I feel a little guilty, Alexandra, because so much of the wealth and the income that I'm generating is coming from the work that my team is doing. And I had to remind her that, she had to actually give herself permission. And that was a mindset shift, right? That was a mindset shift to allow herself to earn that. And that all of those women were there doing that because of her leadership and because she shared the opportunity, and she opened up a doorway to all sorts of success that these women were now achieving, right? And they were achieving that success because of her mentorship, her guidance, right? But she had invested in those relationships. And so while yes, it's somewhat passive, she also did a lot of work on the front end to set that up. So it's a mindset game to earning more. And that's really the first tip. The second tip that I want to give you is this idea of outsourcing. I would say, and this may not be completely popular with everybody, but I would say that outsourcing inside of your business probably comes when you have, achieved a certain level of success, that, you're actually really profitable, and, you understand what the conversion rate is inside of your business in terms of expenses to income that's coming in. And you're actually in a place where, hiring out allows you to leverage your ideas and to leverage your time in a more effective way. But oftentimes when we're at the very, very beginning of our business, it really is just us. So sometimes that comes a little bit later in your business, but I will tell you that it's really, really important to understand what are the tasks that you're doing that you just don't want to be doing, or that you're not any good at doing. And so then you procrastinate on doing. And I know in my business, I waited a while and I really took my time before I hired any assistants. But now that I have them, I don't think I could actually have the kind of ease that I have in my business do it if I didn't have them, because they really allow me to leverage my time more effectively. I have people who work on video work for me, so this video right here will be produced into a YouTube video, and I'm not going to go back and do that editing work because I have zero expertise in that. And that's really just not a good place for me to spend my time. I also have assistants who do a lot of my scheduling work, who help me create graphics and, do some of the non-income producing work in my business. And so really figuring out for you, are there pieces of your business that you could outsource? Or oftentimes, and I want to give this to you, for a lot of people who are starting out, sometimes it's not even in your business where you need to be outsourcing, but it's inside of your life. And so I've given this example, quite a few times, but sometimes it's inside of your home. Maybe you're spending 10 hours plus a week just cleaning. And maybe you need to give yourself permission to outsource some of that and actually hire a professional cleaner to come through on a weekly basis, or a bi-weekly basis, or a monthly basis, or whatever it would be that would really free you up and give you a little bit more space. When I was first starting out, I had a babysitter. And even when I was writing my book, when I was like pregnant with my second child and I had my first child, and when she was born, that babysitter was key, because sometimes I would take a block of 3 hours and I would just go in and use that time to write, because I needed a concentrated window of time. Trying to write a book in 10 minutes here or 15 minutes there didn't really work, right? And I will tell you that, the book that I wrote between 7 p.m. and midnight, mostly when my husband traveled and after my babies were asleep. But there were periods of time where I wanted to take a 3-hour window and do the writing, right? And so having that concentrated amount of time was super helpful to me. So just being honest with yourself, what does that look like? Hiring out the tasks that, whether it's a house cleaner, a babysitter, maybe it's a meal prep service, or, giving yourself something else that, maybe it is somebody who can come and do some photos for you, and help you curate some of your content a little bit better. So that's another tip. So the mindset game of earning more, outsourcing or hiring out tasks. The other thing I want to talk about is this idea of working in your zone of genius. And I have shared with you before the work of Gay Hendricks. He wrote the book, The Big Leap. This is really his term, but I love this idea of working in your zone of genius, because there are certain things that you can do in your business that nobody else can do. And then there are other tasks in your business that really anybody could do. And so this goes hand in hand with outsourcing. When I think about the work that I can do, right? No one on my team can show up and do the live videos, right? They can't actually come up with the creative content, right? That's not something that they can do, or build the relationships specifically with my clients or serving my clients, right? So serving my clients, building those relationships and creating that sense of community with my clients and new potential clients is something that I can do. Creating the content, being on video, writing, coming up with the ideas that I'm sharing, that's things that I can do, right? Even some of the selling work, I would say, is really work that I can do. And at some point down the road, maybe I'll have a VP of sales who helps me do some of that work too. I do have some support on that from a social selling standpoint inside of my business. And I think that's really helpful too. And I've released some of those tasks where I don't feel like I have to be doing all of it. But really understanding where your zone of genius is really, really key to increasing your income or even doubling your income. Because then you're actually focused on the activities that are the income producing activities, right? Those are the things that are going to drive your revenue. So most of the time it's things like interacting with your customers, serving your customers, bringing in new relationships, and then the unique things that you can do, like being on a podcast, being on a live stream video, all of that kind of work. So that's that tip. The next tip that I have for you is really around increasing your prices. And I would say that 90% of you really need to be doing this. And so ask yourself, when is the last time that you actually increased the pricing of your products or your services? And if the answer is like, I don't even know when, then this is your cue that now is the time to actually show up and do that. Because even if it's a minor increase, a 10% or a 20% increase in terms of your actual, products that you're selling, that can make a significant difference to your bottom line. The other thing is that I always say this, like I say this to the women who are inside of our growth circle, the women who are my VIP clients, the women who are in my Money Mastery Academy, that, it's just as hard to, and just as much work to sell like a $10 product as it is a $1,000 product or even a $10,000 product. And often it's actually even easier to sell a higher dollar product because those people are actually ready to buy. And you're not having to do so much work convincing. And that they're actually going to then show up to do the work. So there's multiple pieces to increasing your prices. One part is that it's actually valuing the work that you're doing, and then it's allowing other people to say yes to themselves and make that investment, and then actually follow through on that investment. Because if you think about it, the thing that you spend $1,000 on, you're going to take a little bit more seriously than the thing that you spend $10 on. And so this is really, really important for you to recognize, especially for those of you who are coaches or in the service industry and you're putting your products and your services out there for people. You really have to value it appropriately so that others will value it as well. And most of you are falling into the money block of undervaluing your own personal worth, and you're undervaluing the worth of your work. And so this is really, really essential. I remember there were points where I raised some of my rates, and I remember thinking like, oh my God, like how am I going to speak that out? And now I'm at a place where I'm really clear about what my pricing is. I'm really clear about what it takes and what it costs to work with me one-on-one, and then also how people can work with me in different ways and still get incredible value, but maybe it's a little bit of a different investment. And so I have different ways that people can work with me, but I value how much time or what those touch points look like. So, if you come into my Money Mastery Academy, it's going to look different than, working with me one-on-one, because that's a much higher touch, higher level of service, right? And so I have to value that appropriately, right? So look at your pricing. This goes for you no matter if you have a service or a product. And if you are someone who's like selling individual products, you might look at it in terms of like, are you paying for shipping, or do other people need to pay for the shipping? Or are you oversampling? And so maybe you actually, the price increase for you is just like not buying all those products and giving them away, but it's actually allowing people to make the investment so that they're paying the full price. So think about that. Okay. So we've got mindset game of earning more, outsourcing, working your zone of genius, and increasing your prices. Those are the first four. The fifth one that I want to talk about with you is this idea of creating VIP offerings. And this is really exciting way that you can also increase your revenue, double your income, bring in more money into your business, because your work doesn't have to, every piece of your work doesn't have to be for everyone, but every business has people who are willing to pay a little bit more, to work more deeply, more fully, or to get faster results because they're going to go into more of a VIP experience with you, right? It's sort of like, I think about myself, like I'm willing to pay to skip the line, right? If there's a way that when you go to the aquarium, for example, like you can pay an upgraded membership fee, and then you don't have to wait in the line to go and just get a ticket. There's been several times where I've been visiting other cities where it's like, oh, it's $150 to join the aquarium and I don't have to go stand in that line for 2 hours. Great, let's go do that. And then I'll just pay the fee and skip the line, right? There are lots of people who are oriented that way and they will do the same thing. So it could be that, if you're somebody who does a lot of events, you add a VIP offering to that. Maybe they get early entry, or they get a special badge, or they get a swag bag or a special luncheon, right? Like they get VIP seating up front, right? That's a way to add a VIP option. Could be that you have a coaching program that is more of like for example, my Money Mastery. My Money Mastery Academy is pretty much a self-service, right? You can go in, you take the modules at your time. We have a community. We do have group coaching calls, but there is a VIP option that's associated with that will allow you to have one-on-one calls, but it costs significantly more because that's going to be, a whole process that's of its own, that's in addition to the course and the community, right? And so that's an upgraded option that people can take advantage of. You can also do things like VIP days, where you literally work one-on-one with a client for an entire day, but you would charge appropriately for that, right? That's a higher touch and a higher level of service where they're going to get your one-on-one attention on their business, on their life, for half a day or an entire day, right? That's contact that comes at a premium price. Maybe you run a retreat and you host a few days to come work with you in person, right? Like that's a premium price kind of cost, right? So the other thing I want to say is that for those of you who have products, like maybe you do website development or you do graphics, right? Maybe somebody is looking for something on a faster turnaround time. So where it could be like 6 weeks to produce a website, you could have a VIP offering that's like, come and get your website done in 1 week, right? That kind of example is something. Or if you sell products, like many of you have products that you sell, lipsticks or, lip glosses and things like that. Or you have household products. You could do a bespoke package where you bundle all those products and you put it into a beautiful basket and deliver it to their doorstep or whatever, right? That could be like a VIP type of offering with your products, right? So everybody has the opportunity to do this. Or it could be that you're a leader in, say, like a direct marketing business where you have something that you could teach. And so you do a VIP event for other leaders inside of, your same industry, but you allow them to pay to come and do that retreat with you, right? So all sorts of different ideas for creating VIP offerings that I think are really, really helpful. Okay, so that's tip number 5. So number 6 is getting clear and honest about how you are spending your time. And we talk about this a lot. I had a client just yesterday on a group coaching call that was saying, I don't even know if I'm in the right place. And I'm not making any progress and I'm not selling my work. And the question that I asked her is, are you actually focused on the income producing activities? And you got to get really real with yourself. Where are you spending your time? So whether that's taking a notebook and documenting your hours, just noticing and doing an audit for a day or two and really noticing what are you spending your time on, and is it actually the kind of stuff that would bring money in the door? A lot of people, are really doing a lot of other activities like spending 3 years building their course, right? We had a client at one point who I mean, it was like 3 years in and still hadn't finished her website and was like dinking around and making no money. And she was frustrated about that. And so we said, ditch the website, get into actually selling the work because people aren't going to just go wander over to your website. They just really aren't. Not unless you're driving them there for a very specific reason. And so that's going to come through conversations. That's going to come through you offering your work. That's going to come through you sharing your services. That's going to come from having those sales conversations, doing those reach outs. And so get really honest with yourself, make yourself a short list of what are the top 3 things that actually bring revenue into my bank account, and then start to do those things, right? I would also just say that a lot of us are probably spending way more time focused on your business than you need to. So I will tell you that, about maybe 2 years ago, I took Friday and Monday off of my calendar for serving clients, and I have completely blocked those days, so nobody else can have them. And sometimes I take them just for myself and spending time with my family, which is a lot of what I'm doing this summer with my calendar. But during the school year, I'll often use that time just as creative time. That's the time where I write. That's the time where I think about, how do I want to serve you? How can I really connect with you and give you high value material that will help you grow and scale your business?